So this is PTC's How to Model Almost Anything, lesson or exercise number 4. So we're going to walk through what is important from this lesson. Now the main thing is we're going to be focusing on how to assemble product models. So what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to create our own assembly. So important thing here is the assembly. You need to have the correct working directory because that is where the part will be made. So make sure it is in the peg block assembly. Click OK. And now instead of opening a file, we are actually going to create a new file. So new, and we want an assembly. We're not making a new part, we're making a new assembly. We're joining parts together. Click OK, it doesn't matter what you name it. And you start with a blank canvas, which should make sense because you have a new part. So we're going to use the assemble function, and we're going to start with the block, and it's going to place it in the middle. And we have an automatic placement feature, and we want to just make sure that that is in the default central position where we want it. We're not putting it tangent to any other surface, we're not putting it normal on any surface, we're just right in the middle by itself, default. Okay, so this part is good to go. So we'll click OK. And now we're going to want to place a peg in the block itself. So we're going to continue with assembling, and we're going to add a peg. So you've added the peg, and essentially I want you to realize what your options are here. So you can see that we have these axes here. We can actually drag the part up and down in that axis, in that axis, and you can also translate back and forth. And then the other thing is you can actually rotate this as well, get a better look at the part. Now it doesn't matter what you do because what we're going to do is set constraints. So we're going to choose a wall. Now be careful with your clicks. Make sure you do not click when you shouldn't or when you don't want to click. So we're going to click on this, and we get this automatic thing. What this is telling us is this is giving us something called a constraint. A constraint is how the model fits together. So we want this wall fitting with this wall, and so it automatically moves our model over so that those things align. So those things are now coplanar. However, we need more information about this piece. We need this section to be touching this section. And as you notice, we actually had this say automatic before, and now it says distance. So it's actually constraining this part to this distance, so it's floating this part, which is not what we want. We want it to be resting on that surface. So instead of a distance constraint, we don't want a parallel constraint, we want a coincident constraint. And so as soon as we do that, it puts the part where it belongs, and we click OK, and we're done. There's no moving around, there's no fiddling, there's no zooming in and making sure everything's there. It is done. We set a constraint, it did it automatically, and it knows what to do. So that's it. So that's how you essentially put together pieces using the assemble function. So that's what this goes through, and this is what it talks about from the first beginning. How to do that. Make sure you do not click in the wrong walls. Make sure of your clicks, and then essentially wants you to do it again. So we're going to close this, erase, and we're going to actually open up a Lego truck. So the Lego truck is here, and we want to choose our top level assembly. Okay, so you have a nice Lego truck here, and essentially everything is there except for one wheel. So we need to assemble that last wheel. So we click front wheel, and we go from there. So I'm going to intentionally make a mistake to show you what is very common and how to fix it. So if you notice here, it actually brings this piece in with already coincident constraints assigned to this model. So it immediately already clicks for you. And so it should make sense if you look at this is the outer hub here, and therefore we have if you're facing outside and looking in, we have the left side here, which should constrain to there. And if we do that, it'll turn out perfect. Now, if we don't, if we actually constrain to the wrong side, it will actually flip our piece in the wrong direction. But you might not notice it immediately, and so then you'll say, well, this is the back side of the rim, so we want to constrain it to this, so it's all the way on there. And you're like, oh, that looks good, except it's 180 degrees flipped. So that's not a problem at all. We just go up to the top left here, we go to placement, and we flip our piece, and there we go. Now it's in the correct area, and we can click OK. And so that's your truck assembly. And so if you remember your your buttons, Control, Alt, left click, you can manipulate the wheel, and if you notice, if you try to pull the wheel off, it can't because we've set a constraint. We said that it cannot separate from that wall. And we can't translate it left or right either because it is on the peg. And so, perfect. You have your model that now works. And so, the next step is the next main part of this. It talks about using a program called Creo View. In order to do that, you need a Creo View model. Now, Creo View is just like what it sounds like. It is a way to view these models, and it has some features in it that is better than actually using this CAD software to begin with. So we're not creating anything new, we are now just trying to view this piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to save a copy to not change our files. We're going to change it as a Creo View file, PVZ. And it doesn't matter what you name it. As you can see, I've practiced this and done this a couple times now. We'll say top level 3. And we're going to click OK. So we're going to open up our Creo View, which is where I was from before, and we're going to open our truck level 3. Okay. So initially you don't have anything. And so what this does is you can say, I want to see the entire truck. So you can select the entire tree and bam, there it is. And once you start playing with this software, you'll notice there's a couple of differences. One being you can provide momentum to the piece to kind of give it a three-dimensional view. So like if you ever wanted to create an animation, you can do that. Like when they do their, when you have a car in a showroom and you have it on like a rotating mat, you can kind of do that. And so you can create your assemblies there. Now the other stuff you can do is you could then take off different components and only look at, let's say, the chassis. Or the chassis, however you like to say it. You can certainly do that if you'd like. So here's your Lego truck. Basically what it's doing is it's telling you that you can do a couple different things. First thing, you can translate parts to get them out of the way. Now the difference in this is it's actually just moving the physical part for the viewing sake, not actually changing the model. And so let's say I want to take a look at what our drivers have to deal with. So I'm going to kind of expand these areas and say, look at this seat. How nice is that seat? Those Lego guys will be incredibly comfortable in their model. And I can do that. I can take a look at what's inside of here. I can pan around. I can see, I can see how close the steering wheel is to the actual end of the seat. Whatever you like to do with your model. And if you'd like to rotate parts, I can actually rotate them as well. Now keep in mind that this is not a permanent rotation, it's just for viewing. And so I can actually restore that all back, and all the constraints are still there, all the things that you did are still there. It's all perfectly well and good. Now, so play around with that, and then the next thing that you actually want to do is, we actually did all this, same basic commands. Difference being you can add momentum, and what you want to do is view section. It kind of gives you like an MRI view of your part. So we want to look at the different sections, and we can view section. And what it does is it places this kind of slicing thing here. And essentially what we can do with this is we can slice this down. I'm actually going to go home and change that to translate because I don't want to rotate my slicing section. I want to translate my slicing section, and I can actually go through the part and see what it looks like in kind of a, like I said, an MRI type of view. And so we can take a look at what this part looks like as I kind of slice through it. And we can change our sections. Let's say we want to look at the x-axis. We can certainly do that. Look at our x-axis cross sections or our y-axis cross sections. Does not matter. We can certainly look at what those look like there. So pretty neat, especially if you have some internal details to your model that are important. And that is essentially all that we have for this one. This one's pretty short. So go through those, see how this stuff works, and go ahead and answer the questions and do your screenshots.